Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, an N-scale inspired HO layout. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 3 of season 2022. This episode is on new track work through the Echo Canyon. It's about another 30 or so feet of mainline that we can run trains on, which brings us up to about 140, almost 150 feet of mainline from staging yards through Morgan, through the Taggart tunnels and Devil's Slide, and by the Wholesome Cement, and now through Echo Canyon. So what you see here is how things are going to look through the Echo Canyon. This is how the entire layout looks, all the way up to the new area, which is right here. This is going to be the control point there by the window for Echo. And then in the corner there, we're going to have the Echo Canyon. It's going to be quite a bit of scenery. Pretty cool vista there through the Echo Canyon. So this is how things look. It's really coming along. The basement's looking more and more finished. Every week that I do an update. Before I do the peninsula, which is actually coming up next, I'm going to paint the floor. Alright, this is where we were as far as mainline goes, and so I added this curve here, which is about 57 and 55 radius curves. So still pretty much in line with what we've been doing. We've had 60-inch radius curves. Then we come to this curve here, which is the narrowest curve so far, and this is a 51-inch curve and a 53-inch curve. Still looks pretty good. As we extend the main line a little bit further, we're going to get to in the 40s. Here you can see the framing here is much more organized and more straightforward. Not like this, which was a big mess, but definitely much more organized. It helped that I planned it on the track plan first using the CAD rail, and then actually followed the plans and laid out the benchwork according to plans. It definitely came out a lot better, a lot more organized. Has some pretty neat looking curves there. This curve coming off of the hair, you got a really nice view if you're running a train and you see your train coming down. It's going to be pretty awesome coming through this left curve, and then we have about 3-4 feet of straightaway, and then it curves in the other direction. And it's going to be looking pretty good. There will be a backdrop here. I'm going to put some masonite up on that corner there, and then also on this other corner. This continues 1% grade. There have been a couple of level areas. Usually when we come to control points, it's been pretty level, but we've had pretty steady 1% incline, and the main line has risen to 56 inches off the floor. Started at about 44 inches, and so it's raised about a whole foot. This is going to be the Echo control point. Then in the corner back there will be the actual Echo Canyon. Here's a picture of what the scenery is going to look like through Echo Canyon. Can't wait to get some of this going. I think it's going to be looking pretty awesome. With the higher elevation here, it's going to be A little bit more interesting to see the trains go by, and the signals will be much more easily viewed and read. From the echo control point there, it's going to curve here. This is where the 44 inch radius curve is going to go, and then the main line is going to come in through here, through Castle Rock, and then Curvo, and they're going to cross. The main lines are going to cross here at Curvo, and then it's going to come around. It's going to be a peninsula from where the that one pole, if you look at that one pole straight towards where I'm standing, the pole on the left. I'm going to move, we removed one set of shelves already, going to remove the second set of shelves here because the peninsula is going to be pretty wide. I want to have at least 4 feet on either side. The peninsula is going to be about 9 feet wide, which we'll still be looking at about a 48-inch curve. And then the main line is going to come through here. The pole there is going to be inside the scenery. It's going to be between the two main lines on opposite sides. Here's the staging yard. There'll be only a 3 feet aisleway there, but it's just a little short choke point there. So it's going to be about 18 inches of scenery from the pole out, and then it'll be about 3 feet to the edge of the staging yard. And that will be where the Wasatch is, so it could be a little bit of a, it's a place to watch trains. It might maybe cause a little bit of crowding, but we'll have to see. This is the last area that needs to be finished and the ceiling painted. That's going to be the Evanston yard, and then that's going to be the helix in that corner with the dispatcher. You can see where I put one of the shelves. I'm not sure if that's where it's going to end up. Evanston yard is going to come all the way out to about here, and then it's going to curve around the furnace and go into the helix or start at second level. I haven't decided yet. All right, here's how the things kind of progressed as I put this together this week. Here's the L girder bench work. If you notice, I've been continuing to raise up the bench work. This is as high as I'm going to go on the bench work. Because if I go any higher, then the skirting won't reach the floor. This first part of where the risers are, I had that done already. But you see I have some of the road bed cut here. These risers were done, these joists were done last week, but this is then the new L girder bench work that I put in. I, of course, did finish the sheetrock in this area and got it painted and everything. Then I put the joist in, and to make sure the joists were straight, the benchwork gets gradually wider from the distance to the near point. So I wanted to make sure that everything was straight, so I used a chalk line and made sure that all the joists lined up, and the fascia will be nice and straight, hopefully. It did turn out to be straight. Here's the trains that were waiting so patiently to have the main line completed so that they could run. All right, once the once the L girders were in, then of course I put the joist across and then attached the risers. And then I attached the plywood to the risers and added then the road bed. Now this curve here, I made it a little bit wider than what the plans had, so that made the curve go closer to the wall than what I had originally planned. But it actually turned out nice because it did allow there to be some curvature going from one place to the other. So here you can see again everything with the fascia on there. That was the last thing I did, was added the fascia. Now as we see this here, you should be able to see how the main line is pretty close to the wall here at this point. But it does kind of have to go diagonally through that section. It looks pretty good actually. And we'll hopefully get another look at that before too long. All right, we have to of course run some trains on it, so we'll go ahead and pull a manifest train. That looks like it has the green signal. We won't come all the way from the staging yard. We'll just come from the Taggart Mountain and Devil Slide area and go ahead and pull through this control point and go past the Wholesome Cement area. These are a couple of scale trains, Tier 4 GEVOs and Intermountain Tier 4. This is going to be the Weber River, and then a road going underneath it also, and then the Wholesome Cement area is going to be right there on that little bit of plywood that I got stuff sitting on. This is going to be pretty cool if you're operating a train and kind of stand here and watch your train come down the line. I have the camera held a little bit lower than eyesight for me. Maybe is a good 12 inches below my eye level. But definitely is a nice curve there. And a little bit of straightaway before we get into the larger curve that will go through the Echo Canyon. Where that straightaway is right there, I'm going to have a little bit of a few buildings there to represent Echo, which is a very small little piece of civilization that is right before the Echo Canyon. So that's going to be where that straightaway is, and then all along this curve is going to be the Echo Canyon. I have my friend Mark Bridgewater coming in late February. And we're going to work on some scenery. You have to let me know what scenery you want us to work on. It's a choice between Taggart Mountain and Devil's Slide, or Echo Canyon right here. Or we could also do the Castle Rock and Curvo areas. I'm kind of leaning towards Castle Rock, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, this is the end right now. I have the turnouts in, but I don't have them wired. At least not all the way wired. I did wire them enough so that we could do a little operations here. I still have a little bit of a dead spot, but now if you notice, this train has come up the incline and heading eastward, and it is running on the left-hand side, and the Evanston Sub is left-hand running from Ogden up through Kerrville. And they're left-hand running because the left-hand side is a more modern main line. It was built in, I think, 1918, if you think of that as modern. But when you consider the original main line was built in 1869, it is indeed a modern main line. So anyway, the trains going uphill from Ogden through the Evanston Sub up to Kerrville run on the left-hand side so that they can take advantage of the more modern main line, which has less incline and fewer curves. And then the downhill trains, I have to use my fingers here a little bit since not everything is wired. So the downhill then use the older main line, which is the one that the train is on right now. So the trains that are going downhill back towards Ogden go on the old main line, where they don't have to worry about the curves and incline so much, although they do have to work on making sure that they're braking it properly. And then the uphill trains use the left hand. Now, when they get to Kerrville, the main lines cross over each other. And so from Kerrville to Evanston, it is right hand running. So that's going to be represented on the layout. It's going to be left hand running from Ogden to Kerrville, and then right hand running from Kerrville to Evanston. Here we can watch the trains. It's pretty cool to see the axles turning. That's one thing I like about these scale trains in Intermountains. Athearn does not do that. But it looks pretty cool to see the bearings turning on the trucks on these as they go by. I like the Athearns more than the scale trains, I think, mainly because I like Soundtrack's Tsunami sound system a little bit better than the ESU system on the scale trains. But they're both excellent. And I might switch my mind or change my mind if I get to the point where I learn more about the ESU. So this is not a prototypical operations move. Obviously a train wouldn't make it all the way up to this point and then switch the engines around to the other end and head back down the mountain, but it definitely is more interesting at this point on the layout to do this rather than just simply backing the train back down the main line. Now this train right now is just a manifest train, but it has 30 cars. And I wanted to test to see how many cars could fit between these two control points. It looks like I could probably put a train of with 3 locomotives, probably about 45, 43, something like that. But definitely over 40 car lengths. One thing that's going to be different on this layout from my N-scale layout is the control points are much further away. On the N-scale layout, on the Geneva sub, you could have a train that would be spread out over 2, sometimes 3 different control points. So this is definitely much more prototypical. You will always be able to fit at least one train between control points. All right, we have the all red here, so we have to come to a stop. See if we can get the dispatcher to throw the turnouts and give us a signal to head on across. It looks like he has us going straight through, and then we'll cross over on our way back. All right, the green's been knocked down to red. That's one of my favorite parts of signals, is having them change as the trains go through. Really looking forward to getting some scenery done here in late February. When you're watching this with all this wood, this plywood and 1x4s and 1x3s and so on, you have to kind of imagine this scene with scenery in place, especially mountainous scenery. There, of course, will be a painted backdrop. Definitely going to be an interesting layout to operate on. And see if we can get the turnouts thrown and a signal here. All right, so we're going to cross over this time. We have the yellow, which means since the yellow is on the lower aspect, it means we're going to be crossing over so that we can hook onto the end of our train and hopefully be ready to head on out. For imagining scenery here, you can kind of imagine a couple of through truss bridges here with a couple of plate girder bridges before and after, and then the Weber River going through there as well as a road. Definitely going to be an interesting area. Then a cement industrial area there on the plywood. A painted black drop. All right, here we're at the end. We're at the end of our train, and we'll go ahead and hook up. We'll go ahead and turn the headlights and ditch lights off. There goes the ditch lights and the headlight. And then we'll also need to go ahead and turn the headlights and ditch lights on at this end. See if I can figure that out. And there's headlights, but it looks like it's on dim. Let's see if we can't get it. There we go. Full brightness, headlights, ditch lights, and we're ready to go. Before we take off, though, there is a train heading behind us, and coming up behind us. This is through the crossing the Weber River again, but coming out of the Taggart tunnels. There are a trio of SD70Ms pulling a intermodal train. Now we could make this one stop and have our train head back and cross over in front of it. However, the dispatcher would not want to stop a train that's heading uphill. So priority will be given to the trains that are heading uphill. You don't want to stop a train that's already got its momentum going, especially on a 1% grade. So as you can see, this train has the flashing yellow on the lower aspect, and we'll go ahead and go through this control point and cross over to the other main line so that it can get around our train, which is getting ready to head back to staging yard. Now when it gets to the next control point, it would then cross over again back to the left-hand main, because it's got the steepest part of the uphill climb will be between the Echo control point and Wasatch. That's where it has there's going to be inclines on the old main up to 1.7%, and on the new main, new as in 1918, the incline there will be up to 1.14 or 1.5%. I really like these combination of curves. I think this turned out pretty good. There is some wasted space in the corners. As we looked at the benchwork, you could see there was quite a bit of space there. Is the benchwork is off the corners about 3 feet on both corners. So there is some wasted real estate space there, but I think to get these curves and have it look much more prototypical is definitely worth it. And it'll look great with the Wasatch Mountains. Excuse me, the Echo Canyon mountains there. Alright, so this is the end of the line for this train also. So we won't cross over now because this is as far as we've gotten. But it will once we get things further along. So we'll go ahead and stop here. So there's going to be some signals here. That's kind of the main thing I'll be working on this week is getting this all wired up and turnout motors installed and the DCC switches and everything. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can't get a signal here. And as you can see, there is a flashing yellow again on the lower aspect, so we're going to be crossing over. Since this is a downhill now, we'll want to cross over to the left-hand main line in case there's any trains coming back up on the other main line. In thinking about operations on this layout, it is going to be a lot about dispatcher-controlled movement of trains across the main line. And there's going to be some local activity happening, like the train will be stopped here to switch Wholesome Cement, and while a train is stopped here working on Wholesome Cement, then all the other trains going through will have to be routed around them. So there'll be a lot of interesting train meets as they try to get going both eastbound and westbound, but doing so around trains that are working, and being able to continue to move the freight through. So it's going to be a lot about the actual movement of the trains. And there will be some switching, as I said, at Wholesome Cement. There was also a tank facility at Evanston that will be some switching done, and then a Trona mine at West Vaco, which will be another place where there will be some work being done. So those will be 3 areas where there will be some local work going on that will require trains to be routed around, and some train movement management by the dispatcher and road crews. But then I'm also going to have maintenance being done. So there'll be at random, we'll have a maintenance truck, the high rail maintenance truck, go out and basically just sit on a piece of main line and work on that section. And then while they're working on rail maintenance, then again the trains will have to be routed around those. That's one thing that we saw when we were on the Evanston Sub back in June when we visited. They had a lot of rail maintenance going on, and so they had to have a lot of coordination of trains going around and around the rail maintenance. So that's going to be part of it also. So this would be a lot of mainline running. So if you like running trains and seeing a lot of mainline running, this is definitely what's going to be happening. There will be a lot of switching though at the Evanston Yard and those 3 areas also. Well, this brings us to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Another week has been completed and we're ready to go on to the next week. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.